interference from Arkansas PBS said, what is the walk-up music for Greg Sankey? So I was thinking about it, and he's a huge music fan, and U2 is one of his favorite bands. How many times, Commissioner Sankey, have you seen U2? 18 times. Yeah, see? Told you. Welcome. Great to have everybody here on this Tuesday. I know we've had to move some things around, but very appreciative to have the commissioner here. He doesn't do many of these. I'm just going to tell you, he does not do many of these. And so we're grateful to have him here. The last time we had him here was 2019. We have some similar circumstances. He didn't remember when I brought it up, but we'll bring it up here a little bit later, that he was here for in 2019 that are happening in 2025. And so we do want to acknowledge Wally Hall. Wally going back to Mike's Live go back and let me look at my notes, 2007. We'd been a club 3 years. And Wally called Mike Live and said, would you consider coming to the Touchdown Club? And Mike did. Came back in 2012. And then we got Greg in 2019. And so this is his second trip. So what a testimony to this club. And how about let's give it up to Greg Sankey for making it an effort to get here today. So he was telling me today that Holly Rowe was really talking so positive about her visit last week. Did you enjoy Holly Rowe last week? Oh, my gosh. Wow. One of the great all-times that we've ever had here. She was outstanding. And I know that Alicia and JNF Marketing and Media posted what she did down in Mena with the cancer survivor down there, the softball player. That's up on social media. She said she was going down to do that when she left us, and she did. So check that out. Really, really cool. Next week, we have Madre Hill and Anthony Lucas together. Two of the great Razorbacks. Yeah, two great guys, too. Actually played together. People don't realize they actually crossed years together. So be looking forward to having them. As we always do, we have a pop-up thanks to Rockstar Passes. They do such a great job for us. The commissioner said he didn't think his would be that popular. Could be popular for different reasons, Commissioner. I noticed he did sign right on his tie, right in the middle, right there in the middle. Greg Sankey, SEC. All right. We will not ask what you do with the sign. We're just glad you bought the sign. All right, let's go. Let's see. 042221. 042221. Got it. Boom. Winner. There we go. Matt, very nice. Congratulations. All right. Do want to thank you saw out there in the middle, you know, all the shirts and sweatshirts, really, really cool. Want to thank Steve Qualls of Design Labs. Steve's here today, and it's really, I mean, it's amazing. We've never had this many selections, so scan that QR code if you want to order you one. It's really, you got a lot of selections, so thanks to Steve and his work. We really appreciate him. At this time, we want to bring up Chuck Monan, our official minister of the Touchdown Club, and a couple things. We lost Gilbert Garrett, Grant Garrett's father, who was a member of this club. Grant, as you know, you might not know, Commissioner, Grant played under Houston Nutt in that 98 season, played next to Brandon Burlsworth. Great guy. His dad was a member and a wonderful man. He lost him. And also Dave England, one of my trainers back in the 80s and longtime trainer for Nolan Richardson and with Dean Weber. He's in the hospital, not doing good. So that just happened over the weekend. So Pixie, if you don't mind, come up and say a word of prayer and include them if you don't mind. Thank you. Let's give it up for Pixie and appreciate everybody.
I don't know about all of you, but I'm really excited to be here today. We're in the presence of probably the greatest commissioner in sports. I say this as a Big Ten man, and I've watched those chimps that are running the Big Ten for years playing checkers while this man is playing chess. Commish, you've done a great job. I just want you to know a couple things before we pray. Be careful around this bunch. There's an uneasy feeling in the air. And it's mostly because of your officials, and they're probably going to tell you that. and if that weren't bad enough, the guy you're sitting next to, Benedict Arnold, Judas Iscariot, he called you a carpetbagger on the radio today. Now, Commissioner Sankey is not the first Yankee that's been down here. I think Mike Slive was. Roy Kramer was actually from Central Michigan. And you got the big dogs like Wally Hall and John Brummett. They're a little nervous about the officiating. I'm going to give you one bit of advice. Here it is. They will accept you better if you take a strong stand on a doctrinal issue. And I'm going to give you one. Cornbread. Cornbread, as you know in the South, is not supposed to have sugar in it, right? The late Louis Grizzard said this: if you want something sweet, order the pound cake. He said, sugar does not belong in the cornbread, and anybody that puts sugar in the cornbread is a heathen who does not love the Lord, not to mention Southeastern Conference football. So that's free. Okay. Good talk, Commish. All right, let's pray. Father, we're thankful for all that you make possible. We're thankful for life itself. We're grateful for the food that's been prepared and those that prepared it. We're thankful that the commissioner would take time out of his busy schedule to come to Arkansas. And Father, bless him and his family and the work that he does. Father, be with us and help us to be good ambassadors for you as long as we're on this earth. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thanks, Pigskin. If we can, real quick, I want, Commissioner, you can look at this monitor, and everybody else can look at the screens. And so we have been collecting the last few years comments from our speakers, whether they be from the podium, after Chris Kane talks to them after each meeting. And we've combined over the last few years some of our favorite folks. And I just wanted we've talked about the infamous Lawrence Taylor visit, Commissioner. And his agent told us that it would be a good idea to give him a drink of Crown and a cigar before the meeting started. And then the waitress brought him a double. And then this was at 10 o'clock. And then while he was on stage, he said, he asked Debbie, our executive director, could you do another double scotch this time? And so you'll see at the end of this that he's the one who wraps it up for us. But this is what's been happening at the Little Rock Touchdown Club the last few years. And I wanted the commissioner to see this too. This is a compliment to everybody in the room.
There are a lot of really good clubs in the country, but this is now considered the best touchdown club in America.
Wow. The experience of stopping through Little Rock is just absolutely phenomenal. The people are so homegrown. Like, it's just, everybody's lovable, and it's just beautiful. And no place is perfect. But the hospitality that I was shown at this event, first class.
I had a great experience here at the Little Rock Touchdown Club. Great turnout. Obviously, lots of football fans. Majority Arkansas fans. I saw a couple of Tennessee Orange jerseys and a couple of Colts and Broncos jerseys in the crowd. So that was great. But had a lot of fun with David up there on stage and hearing about all of the great programs that the Touchdown Club supports and the great awards they give every single year. My dad and Eli both spoken at it, and they told me what a great event it was, and I sure had a great time.
Great experience, wonderful crowd, a lot of Packer fans. I'm a little bit surprised in Little Rock that there's that many Packer fans, but they're everywhere. I don't know how many pictures I took, but to see that many people in line and that many people to show up for this event was special.
Touchdown Club. The response by the people, I mean, I don't know how many people, it looked like 1,000 out there, but they were so receptive, and I really appreciate that. And it brought back memories. I got to see a few players that I coached and some friends from past years. Just a great experience for me to come back and be a Razorback again.
This was great. You know, I was just mentioning how incredible this is, and to hear that you guys do this 15 times a year, it's unreal, man. I mean, look, I've been to a lot. I've been to a lot of these. This is absolutely the best, no doubt about that.
I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel about it. I'm not jealous. They say, oh, you're jealous because of all the money. Well, I would like to make 35. You paid my ass $35 million. I'd have played better than Aaron Rodgers played Sunday. I mean, I wouldn't have mailed it in, I can promise you that. So
I was concerned about being a college coach because I would have you on the death penalty probation within 6 months. But now that you're paying players, and I know a bank with $27 billion, I'd love to have the Arkansas job. I'll tell you that.
Say, Coach, you got $17.1 million on your contract. We're going to give it to you. I said, what time you want me to leave and what door you want me out of, brother?
Well, I think the Touchdown Club does a great job because I asked a couple of people, and they do this like once a year. Said, no, I do it for I guess next 15 weeks, which is fantastic. And the crowd they have, I mean, I'm sure they had a great crowd for Ray Lewis and sure Brett Favre. So I think they do a great job.
Little Rock Touchdown Club, I've never been to a place so well organized, so thoughtful, and the most amazing people. I've hugged the necks of about 200 people today, and it was just beautiful energy and a lot of love, and I am very grateful I got to be here.
Ohio State was undefeated. They're going to the playoff. They lost to Michigan, and their players, this is the next generation, their players like, I guess we got to go to the Rose Bowl. You know, I'm like, don't say that. You know.
Let me tell you something. I had an opportunity to go to a lot of banquets over the years, and here I've had one of the best experiences that I've had in quite some time.
And my heart's been touched today, so I'm just really happy that I was able to do this. I feel blessed, and definitely if I could give everybody in this room a set of pom-poms, I'd tell them to come to the Cowboys game. We need this kind of spirit. It's been great.
It's awesome, man. I mean, it's just a first class event. I do a lot. I've done a lot of these like over the years, right? But to have a crowd that is as interactive, that is as knowledgeable, that cares as much about the sport as we do was really fun. And I mean, it's always fun to kind of go to an area of the country that's as crazy about football as I am. So it made me feel very much at home. It was really a great experience.
I mean, what an incredibly special event. The kindness that everyone showed to me, the reception, the energy in the room. It is unequivocally the best touchdown club that there is anywhere, anytime, and I will always say that, but just so thankful to the hospitality.
I'm going to tell you what, I really enjoyed it. Who would think that in Arkansas, where most people don't even know what Arkansas is, would have an outing like this and guys get together and fellowship, and I tell you what, I am shocked and surprised. I love it. I'll be back.
I'll be back. How about that, everybody? Boom. Wow. LT said he was shocked anybody knew where Arkansas was, but he loved it, and he'll be back, so that's outstanding. Commissioner, great to have you here today. Do want to thank our fine sponsors. First of all, Simmons Bank. We have Josh Jensen and John Monroe here at the head table. We appreciate them. Congratulations on the golf tournament last week. It was amazing. Let's give a round of applause for the Simmons Bank Championship. Outstanding. Congratulations to George Macris and Freddie Black, but great to have Josh and John here today. Stevens, couldn't do it without Stevens, and I know, Commissioner, you know about the Stevens folks and Warren Stevens. Great to have Warren Simpson here today, and one of the great Razorbacks of all time, Kevin Scanlon. Let's give it up for Kevin Scanlon and Warren Simpson here today. Crane Automotive, largest dealer group in Arkansas, 19 dealerships. Always great to have you guys up front here every week. Appreciate you guys, and you guys I know are doing great business. Thanks to Christian Crane and Chris Crane and the entire Crane family. Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings, who are licensed attorneys and former collegiate athletes who understand the challenges of NIL. And so if you're one of those businesses that wants to do an NIL arrangement with a athlete, this is where you go to in the state of Arkansas. They've been doing it for years. They're the premier law firm in Arkansas to deal with that, led by Judy Henry, my good friend, my personal attorney. I also want to congratulate. Is Charlie here today? Is Charlie Coleman here today? Charlie was recognized this weekend up at the game for the U of A National Alumni Board Community Service Award. So we want to recognize Charlie and say good job for him. But thanks to Wright, Lindsay, and Jennings and what you guys do. Thanks so much, Judy. Oaklawn Hot Springs, Wayne Smith, Zach Gillum, just doing a great job. It's crazy. They asked me to do my picks, Commissioner. I've been doing this for a few years, and so I was 7-3 in college. So I'm thinking I'm finally back on track. 0 for 4 NFL. The Dallas Cowboys did not help me last night. That was horrible. But download the Oaklawn Sports app and have some fun. We were telling the commissioner about that's where we do the Broyles Award is at Oaklawn now, and how amazing. And he was very familiar with it. But we appreciate Oaklawn and their support of the Touchdown Club. Summerworth Sports, the Hendricks family, great to have them here today. Thanks so much. You guys just keep doing it right. Been doing so much in the community for so many years. Thank you for being a faithful supporter of the Touchdown Club. Double B, Steve Lytle, and Ed Light, we appreciate them. Been around a long time, 34 locations across the state. Thank you to them. Sissy's Log Cabin, Bill and Sherry Jones, and the whole gang. Commissioner, they gave jewelry to our last two guests, Holly Rowe and Kelly Finglass, but I don't see any jewelry for you today, so I'm sorry. It's just must be a female thing only. I'm not complaining, but thanks to Sissy's Log Cabin. Roller Funeral Homes, Renata Jenkins Byler and her entire staff, thanks for what you guys do, 24 locations across the state. The Hatcher Agency, Greg Hatcher, Hatcher Capital Investment, Scoops, Twin City Limo, thanks so much, Greg, and all the folks. I see you back there, Greg. All the folks that you bring every week, it means a lot. Always so supportive of the Touchdown Club. Outrageous service. That's what he gives at the Hatcher Agency. Advantage Service Company, Kevin Brooks, Matt Bailey. One Call does it all for residential and commercial sales and service for HVAC and electrical needs. It's getting about that time. I got to service my units. Got to service it. Can't have something going out when it gets cold. Call them up. That's right. Simmons Bank Arena. Is Michael Marion here today? So, Commissioner, we have one gentleman in this room that wears maroon every week, and he's a Mississippi State fan, and so he's the only one smiling today. But so congratulations, Michael, on the big win. We mentioned the commissioner is a big music guy, so you got Maroon 5 coming up on the 9th of November, Alabama with the Marshall Tucker Band coming up on November 15th, and Riley Green November 22nd, just to name a few. But, Michael, congratulations. We always say that we're going to beat Mississippi State every year. Hadn't been the case the last decade. So congratulations to you, I think. Pulaski County Farm Bureau, Todd Dennis and Stephen Riker, thanks so much for you guys supporting the Touchdown Club every year. War Memorial Stadium is one of our great sponsors, John Latch, Mark Pike, and Kevin Crass. Appreciate their support of the Touchdown Club. And our media sponsors, I mentioned the Democrat Gazette. Wally Hall has written a ton of great articles on the Touchdown Club this year. He was a founding member. You know, a lot of things I do, the boot, Tusk, all these things I've done over the years, I've been supported by that guy over there. I can't say how much he means to me and what you did by reaching out to Mike Slive and all the things. Let's give it up for Wally Hall, one of the Hall of Fame broadcasters. We'll have all Arkansas Preps Player of the Week coming up shortly. I know Amanda Copley's not here. It's her birthday. We to wish her a happy birthday. 103.7 The Buzz. Great to have my partner, Roger Scott, the most talented man in the country in radio. Of course, DJ and Justin just interviewed the commissioner. Double R, Randy Rainwater, another Hall of Famer, is here with us today to the side, so appreciate them. AY Media, Heather Baker, AY Magazine, and Arkansas Money and Politics do a great job of supporting us. Arkansas PBS back in the back. Commissioner, I think we're the only touchdown club in America that has their PBS station that comes out and does this live and streams this all over our platform. So Anita, Tanisha, Kevin, Justin, all you, appreciate you so much. And finally, JF, Beanie, and Marketing, Alicia Dover, Jeremy Flynn does our social media. They do a great job. A lot of things that are said here go viral. Now, I would be willing to say a bet today that there will be nothing said by the commissioner that goes viral. I'm just going to say he's a tough nut to crack. So I'm just this is my guess, Alicia. It will be impossible, but you never know. But we appreciate Alicia and Jeremy. Do want to thank Doubletree Hotel. Let's give all of our sponsors, first of all, a big round of applause. That's a lot of them. That's a lot of them, Commissioner, but it takes that to bring in the great folks that we have. And, of course, our partners, Doubletree Hotel. Thank you so much. Sunbelt Convention Services, Tim Glasscock. Rockstar Passes, Brad Rickett and Joy Gonzalez. And our new sponsors this year, Midtown Plumbing, Haley and Jim Coleman and Kyle Jackson. Thanks so much. They're based in Benton. Started back in 2013. The Arkansas Surgical Hospital that was founded by orthopedic and spine surgeons. Great experience for their patients. Physician-owned hospital. They are the decision makers. They're in control of everything. Thanks to Brian Fowler and Andrew Covington. They've done a great job and an impressive facility. And finally, the Arkansas Spine and Pain Clinic, Dr. Amir Qureshi. Great doctors, 6 different cities, Benton, Jacksonville, Conway, Little Rock, Searcy. Appreciate them. Let's give a round of applause to everybody who's been a big part of what we do. Dwayne Duncan, who's been taking a gazillion pictures. Thanks so much. You always do it right. Everybody thinks you can't get it done. Too many people to take pictures of. You do it. Chris Kane, R.J. Hawk, Steve Sullivan, Steve Qualls, Davis Ford, and our amazing volunteer team. Commissioner, one of the reasons we have such a great club is that we've got about 20 volunteers who come here 2 hours before the meeting, set up, do everything. They don't get paid. They do it because they love to be here. We would be nothing without them. It's led by our executive director, Debbie Wyman. Let's give it up for all of our volunteers who do such a great job. Couldn't do it without all of you. That's the fact. All right, it's time to meet our Arkansas Preps, all Arkansas Preps Player of the Week. Another amazing athlete that's put up unreal numbers. Let's get up for Chris Kane, everybody.
All right, David, let's get to these numbers. 2 weeks ago, our Player of the Week passed 33 of 44. That's 75%, 431 yards, 3 touchdowns, but it was a shootout. 59-55 win over Warren, so he had to run 17 times for 130 yards and 4 touchdowns. This past week, light work. 12 of 12. Decided I need to up my 75% completion percentage. But he did pass for 332 yards, 4 touchdowns in a 42-7 breeze over Star City. He leads an offense that averages 48 points per game. An undefeated Rice Birds team. He's joined today by his dad and stepmom, mom and stepdad, and sister. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for our Arkansas Player of the Week, brought to you by the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. From the undefeated Rice Birds, junior quarterback from Stuttgart, Kane Price.
Impressive numbers. Got a great group here. Great congratulations. Fine young man. Hope he has continued success. I'd love to have him back next year. All right, this time, Commissioner, I don't know if you remember this guy when you were here 6 years ago, but he recaps the weekend in football like nobody else and gives us a little headshot or a heads up on what's happening in the upcoming weekend. Let's give it up for Rex Nelson, everybody.
David, it just dawned on me. We saw a real example there of the difference in generations. Chris stands there, the young guy, and reads all these stats off his phone. Here's the old guy. Give me my yellow legal pad. So we are at it. Now, Mr. Commissioner, it's like the last time you were here, which David said was not a very good season. I work on this every Sunday afternoon, and in a bad year, the Razorback recap gets smaller and smaller. David says go fast anyway. And so it gets smaller, and I go fast because most of these people know this stuff. But here we go. Arkansas does continue to find new ways to break our heart, though, don't they? You got to give them something for innovation when you say it can't get any worse. 38-35, 17 unanswered Mississippi State points in the fourth quarter. I'm mainly doing this for Michael today. Arkansas falls to 2-7, 0-5 in conference. Mississippi State 5-4, 1-4. Key stat, I'm going to just leave it at that. 18 penalties for 193 yards, both school records of the worst kind. Mississippi State snaps its 16-game SEC losing streak, gives Michael a reason to shake his cowbell. The Bulldogs convert twice on fourth down on that game-winning drive. Arkansas with just 194 yards passing, the first game this season below 200 yards passing for Talon Green. What do you say we move on, okay? All right, we will go to the Sun Belt Conference because quietly, while many of you weren't watching, Arkansas State has now won 4 consecutive games after that awful 1-4 start. 23-10 win at Troy on national TV Saturday night. I was watching it. So the Red Wolves are now 4-1 in the Sun Belt. Troy came in 4-0, so they're also 4-1. And a battle for at least a share of first place this week in Jonesboro between ASU and Southern Miss. ASU's defense had 9 quarterback sacks in that game. That's the most for an FBS team yet this season. Their quarterback, Jalen Rayner, 21 of 29 passing for 247 yards and 2 TDs. And we had another winner at the Division I level. UAPB defeats Southern University 40-21 in Pine Bluff. Golden Lions moved to 4-5 overall, 2-3 in the SWAC. They scored 31 consecutive points in that game against 1-8 Southern. UCA, unfortunately, falls to 3-6 overall, 2-3 in conference, a 34-13 loss to Eastern Kentucky, which is now 4-5, 2-3. UCA was shut out in the second half of that game and had just 58 yards of offense in the final 2 quarters. Now, as you, again, probably know, we do still have a top 5 team in Arkansas. It's Harding in Division II. Harding is now 9-0, ranked number 2 in the country in NCAA Division II. They post a 69-0 victory over 2-7 Oklahoma Baptist. Harding has now wrapped up the GAC title with 2 games still remaining. Interestingly enough, there are 12 schools in the GAC, 6 in Arkansas, 6 in Oklahoma. In the history of the conference, only 3 schools have won football titles, and they're all in Arkansas. Ouachita with 7, Harding now with 5, and Henderson with 3. Harding rushed for 516 yards in that game. They had 664 yards of total offense. Andrew Miller, 143 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns on 17 carries. Ouachita, meanwhile, wins its 5th consecutive conference game, 55-14 over Northwestern Oklahoma. Ouachita now is insured of a 17th consecutive winning season. That's why I don't retire, David. It's fun right now. That's the longest streak in the state at any level. 17 consecutive winning seasons, and this was the 13th consecutive season for Ouachita to beat Northwestern Oklahoma. Henderson is 6-3. They beat 4-5 Southeastern Oklahoma 21-20. Reddies trailed 20-8 early in the fourth quarter. Winning score came on a 55-yard touchdown pass with just 3:57 left. And Arkansas Tech, I know we got some Wonder Boys show up from time to time. They have ensured themselves of their first winning season since 2017. They are 6-3 with 2 games left, a 42-17 victory over 1-8 Southern Nazarene. Congratulations to Tech's first-year head coach, Roy Thompson. Now, 2 weeks ago, going the opposite direction, Southern Arkansas was 6-1, ranked number 25 in the country. Since then, they've dropped 2 consecutive games by a total of 50 points, 42-14 to Ouachita, and then last Saturday, 44-22 to East Central Oklahoma. Bo Weevils of UAM fought a 2-7, a 49-7 loss at home to 5-4 Southwestern Oklahoma. D3 line is 2-5 overall, 1-3 in conference after a 40-28 win over Austin College. Our other D3 team also won. Hendricks is 5-3 overall, 3-1 after a 64-10 win over Centenary out of Shreveport. Now, back to the SEC. Going to be a fun November, as the commissioner, I'm sure, is about to tell you. Few headlines. Texas sees Arch Manning pass for 328 yards and 3 touchdowns in that 34-31 win over Vanderbilt. Vandy made a valiant effort to come back at the end, fell just short. Georgia wins the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Oh, wait, I'm not supposed to say that when the commissioner's here. Georgia wins that game in Jacksonville, Florida, 24-20 over Florida. That's Georgia's 5th consecutive victory in the series. It's the 4th come-from-behind victory in 6 SEC games. 4 of the 6 they've had to come from behind in the second half. Ole Miss had 6 sacks in its 30-14 win over South Carolina. John Mateer threw for 159 yards, ran for another 80 yards in OU's 33-27 win at Tennessee. And, of course, another Sunday firing. Those are becoming quite common, aren't they, this year? Hugh Freeze out after Auburn's 10-3 loss to Kentucky. And so, as we head down the stretch, as the great horse racing announcer Dave Anderson used to say, down the stretch we come. Texas A&M and Alabama are 5-0 in conference. Ole Miss and Georgia 5-1. Texas 4-1. OU and Vanderbilt 3-2. Tennessee 3-3. Missouri 2-2. Florida 2-3. LSU 2-3. Mississippi State 1-4. Auburn 1-5. Kentucky 1-5. South Carolina 1-6. There's only one school, not sure who that is, 0-5 that does not have an SEC win. Now, rankings still dominating it. Texas A&M number 3, Alabama number 4, Georgia number 5, Ole Miss number 7, Oklahoma number 11, Texas number 13, Vanderbilt number 15, Missouri number 19, and Tennessee number 23. Hogs have the weekend off. No excuse, though, not to go get out and see a college football game. You've got that Southern Miss at ASU showdown. That's an 11 a.m. kickoff in Jonesboro. You've got Florida A&M at UAPB. You've got Southeastern Oklahoma at Southern Arkansas. You've got East Central Oklahoma at Henderson. You've got Texas Lutheran at Line. Weather is going to be perfect, and there are games in Jonesboro, Pine Bluff, Magnolia, Arkadelphia, and Batesville. No excuses, folks. Get out and see a college football game on Saturday. Thanks, everybody.
Commissioner, surely you have a spot for Rex in your office over there in Birmingham. Guy that presents the football like that. Surely there's an opening somewhere over there. So thank you, Rex. Appreciate that. Before we bring up the commissioner, I do want to recognize a couple of special folks. Always great when the Broyles Award is represented as they get ready to celebrate 30 years. Molly Harrell, the granddaughter of Coach Broyles, and her husband, Clayton Harrell, who's in charge of the High School Broyles Award, is here. Let's give a round of applause to them. And a guy that you guys knew that a few weeks back, or maybe a couple months ago, 2-3 months ago, I was really upset about the situation with what happened in Fayetteville with Kevin Traynor. And he was let go of the athletic department there, and so fortunate the chancellor had the vision to, with Scott Verity and all the folks in Brandy over there at the Alumni Association, to find a spot for him. He's one of the most valuable people we have in this state. That's not the guy you fire, that's the guy you keep. Great to have him here for his first Touchdown Club meeting. Kevin Traynor, everybody. Where's Kevin? Commissioner said, listen, if Kevin Traynor shows up to an event, it's a big event. So, and even though Kevin's not with the athletic department, Commissioner, we're glad to see him being involved with all the different events that he has for many, many years. So, also, and I mentioned Kevin Scanlon here. I tell you, when I look at Kevin Scanlon, I see one of the great quarterbacks of all time. And I see a guy that, probably could be an athletic director one of these days. I'm just saying. He's the chairman of the Razorback Foundation. I'm just talking about for the future. Maybe one of these days we'll be welcoming Kevin up to the head stage. So great to have the commissioner here. Let's go ahead and introduce him with our Steve Sullivan video, and then we'll get to work with the commissioner.
Greg Sankey has worked for the SEC for 23 years, the last 10 as commissioner. When he speaks, people listen.
How do you get to the finish line is the puzzling piece for me. Like, can we resolve some key differences?
Under his watch, the conference secured a landmark 10-year media rights deal with Disney, expanding the league's presence across ESPN and ABC. Commissioner Sankey also oversaw the addition of Oklahoma and Texas, making the SEC a 16-team conference, and he played a key role in restructuring the college football playoffs. Those that have interviewed him or heard him speak will tell you that the commissioner is always the most prepared person in the room. The man who has been called the most influential person in college sports got his start as the director of intramural sports at Utica College. Please welcome a man who's run 41 more marathons than David Basil, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey.
I wouldn't have held it against you if you just sat down and ran silent on me. I get it.
Sully had to take that shot. I remember when we've interviewed you over the years on the Buzz and the marathon thing. You ran 41 marathons. I remember you ran 15 consecutive months, a marathon every month for 15 months. Is that right? I think you did that. But you don't do that anymore.
First of all, because it's in my mind, the young woman.
Yeah, let's put that back up there if we can. We've got a shot of that. It's your wife, right, Kathy?
That's her high school graduation. And tomorrow we hit 37 years of marriage.
How about that?
Actually, so that wasn't some random woman in my life.
So what made me catch this attention? That was in an article that was done 6-7 years ago by Pat Forty. But I would love to see you do that, like behind Kirby Smart or Nick Saban sometime. Do the little, that's a little outside your.
Maybe I have.
Yeah, maybe you have. So I mentioned the last time you were here.
Yeah, on the marathon thing, I did. Actually, 16 straight months. I ran a marathon, which was my midlife crisis.
Yeah, you don't do that anymore.
It was cheaper than a sports car and less morally objectionable than other things people do in midlife.
And now you just read books, right? You continue to read books.
I run a little bit, but I read books.
Yeah, that's.
I did the Little Rock half here.
Yeah.
Probably in 2004 or 5 when it synced up with our women's tournament. Great, really well run event with the biggest medal going back in the day. That was the.
And you have been here quite a bit in Little Rock. I know that I was an MC for you when you spoke to the Little Rock Chamber. You spoke to Club 99, the Rotary Club, and this is your second time with us. I mentioned you had been here before. So does anybody want to do the math on the last time he was here? It was November 18th, 2019. Remember what the status was of the Razorback football program? Anybody remember? Chad Morris had just been fired 8 days previous. So you came in, and then 3 weeks later, December 8th, 2019, Sam Pittman was hired. So here you are again, and we have a fired coach and an interim coach. So I don't know if we should not invite you back again or what. Not really sure.
I didn't realize it was November, so I will compliment David. I mean, he stayed after it, and I want to compliment you. So all the other stressors aside, college football is really important, and I respect the passion. And there should be passion and emotion. And we get it wrong, we get it wrong. We need to be responsible, and how do we keep up with changing times and changing expectations? But I shared with Coach Broyles' family, they're tied to high school football is incredibly important. We don't play football on Friday nights during the regular season because we understand the role of football. Holly Rowe came to me at midfield and raved about her experience with you last week. The tributes over and over about what you do for football, don't let that get lost. Hey, there's sponsors who are important, there's other scores. But the ability to come together as a community and talk about a sport and its impact remains incredibly important. And
thank you.
So David stayed after me. I think you don't usually meet on Tuesday, right?
No.
And so you accommodated. I just can't be out on Monday, given that sometimes things happen over the weekend. We searched for dates, and I said, hey, it's Mississippi State, Arkansas week. I've been to that game. It's been played here a few times. I've attended. What could go wrong? I've got an open week on the backside. I can't be here next Tuesday, so
and
we need to think about our scheduling approach.
We'll get to the officiating a little bit later. So looking at this, Rory Kramer, I think of the golden era, I don't know if Bruce James is here, All-American back in the late 60s. Had a lot of great times in the SEC, a lot of great players and coaches. But from 1990 to now has really been the golden era if you look at the number of national championships and all sports, money, all the things. So Rory Kramer, 1990 to 2002. He's still alive, 96 years old. Mike Slive was the commissioner 2002 to 2015. I know he passed a few years ago, and you've been the commissioner since 2015. Pretty amazing run, and I know when I was sort of, I don't know what you would call it, I don't think it was an MC, Molly, but you all came to the funeral of Coach Broyles, and I just thought that was a class act. But where do you think you stack up with those other two? Just, where do you fit with those guys?
Roy turned 96 last Thursday, October 30th is his birthday, and he and I swapped voicemails. He could not answer the phone. I called his son, Steve, right after leaving the voicemail because he was watching on his iPad a local high school football game being streamed on Thursday night. That's his love for football. Roy was a giant to me. I was Southland Conference Commissioner. Roy came and spoke with my presidents and chancellors in late 90s. Never had to do that. Incredibly gracious, worked hard, loved football, loved the league. That day we flew over, I shared this story earlier for Coach Broyles' memorial. I'm on a plane with Mike Slive, Mark Womack, who we just lost. Mark was the Executive Associate Commissioner and part of the expansion in the early 90s, and Roy Kramer. And I just asked Roy and Mark and Mike to start telling stories. I'd lived them with Mike. Mike was a friend and obviously huge, and trying to live up to those expectations is why I don't have the same hairstyle I had in the picture with my wife. But talking about meeting with Coach Broyles, his passion for the Southeastern Conference from his days at Georgia Tech when they were in the league, just an honor to follow in their footsteps. There's a level of pressure that is inexplicable because you know how high the expectations are both under them and to follow them. And I would sit with Mark Womack, and I didn't tell this story as memorial, and we'd have a particularly hard problem. I'd say, well, I was here, what would Mike have done? And we'd laugh a little bit. Then I'd say, well, what would Roy Kramer have done? And he'd typically say, well, he didn't have this one. And then we go back to Boyd McWhorter because Mark started in '78 working in the Southeastern Conference. And it's an amazing organization, amazing campuses, amazing communities, amazing people, and amazing connections.
The last few days, Rex just talked about U-Freeze made a change at Auburn, and I don't know. I tweeted out not long ago, in the last week or two, that in the last 20 years, Arkansas is #1 in the SEC in coaching changes. This is the 6th time we've done it. Auburn has had 4 in the last 7 years. And that is not the way it used to be. So we talk about the last 20, 25 years. Does that concern you? You know, nobody will break the record of Frank Broyles. He fired, Jack Crow in one game. But we're seeing coaches fired midseason, so you see a lot more of this. And then comes the after effect of that is the money that's being paid to fired coaches. And I know one of the things, I know you're the commissioner of the SEC, but you're also, you love the game of college football. That's the thing I hear the most from fans is, in addition to some other things, but they're seeing these coaches getting fired and the huge contracts. What's your stance on that? As a commissioner, as a fan of the college football, can we ever rein that in? Is that ever going to get any better?
We can rein it in. It's challenging to rein it in. So there's not one circumstance. Let's go back to kind of the pace of change. In isolation, so one could say, look at the football coaches that change on an annual basis. That sounds like a lot, relatively speaking, and it is. But then go examine the pace of change among presidents and chancellors. So we just had an in-person meeting in mid-October. A year ago, a third of the participants this October at the presidential level were not in that meeting. That's actually a higher rate of turnover than our football coaches. On the buyout issue, what I say, because I don't negotiate those are done locally, I think it rings a bit hollow. Yeah, I think it's hard to sit and talk about some of the pressures we have with these buyout numbers and feel good. So does it sit well? No. You also develop relationships with people, and those are hard. So most people see them on a TV screen or in a stadium. There are impacts, and then there are descending impacts on families and people early in their career, maybe in the analytics or video department. And I don't think anyone takes that lightly. But the expectation now is for performance and change, and the ability to just settle that down is not like one easy button push away.
Yeah, I think, and probably a lot of people in this room, there are a lot of people that work hard to afford tickets to go buy popcorn, and then there's money trying to be raised for NIL and athletic department and paying players, and then when they see a fired coach have to walk away and get a $50 million check, it's just tough to put that all together. So I think from a fan standpoint, and I know we recently saw the governor of Louisiana get involved, and I know you commented on that. That you said a lot of governors, and our governor has a statement today she wants to make to the commissioner. And but at the same time, I mean, I would think too, it's just from fan standpoint, it's such a big money issue that's something. It's an AD issue. The AD somehow have to, come up with a way to say we're not going to continue to do this. I think it does erode some of the confidence of fans who are out there trying to afford to go to games.
Well, but you also have to look at reasons. So I wouldn't put it solely on an athletic director any place. I think there are a lot of factors. And one is there is a market there where people can move. And that market's extended in different ways. But to seek the right person, and remember, right now there are 3 active head coaches with national championships, but everyone expects that win at the end of the season, right? That's the expectation. And so are those expectations unreasonable? Can those be mitigated on the fan side as well? I'm not sure that you should change the expectations, but then what is the patience level? That's changed. And again, this is not something that's in isolation. The impacts on campuses, even the impacts in corporate leadership can change quickly. We've seen that. And to have it settle down, there has to be a balance between the level of commitment, the salaries are accelerating, and I think there have been wise athletic director decisions where those buyouts are mitigated when someone makes a change. And I think that reality could be pursued more intentionally.
So you have the coaches' money issue, and then you also have the NIL and player payment. So Hunter Yurachek was here a few weeks ago, and I thought he said something pretty interesting. He said he was comparing recruiting in this era of college athletics to driving down the interstate without any police. And he said, if you're driving down I-40, which is a highway over here, and he said, and the speed limit is 55, but a state trooper is not going to be out that day, how many of us are going to go 65? And he asked the room in here. So he said, quote, so you have to decide as an athletic director, are you going to get out of this lane that you're not supposed to be in and operate without the highest level of integrity, or do you want to stay in these 2 lanes? He goes on to say, and that's where the rub is coming right now in college athletics. And until we get our enforcement agency up and running, you're going to continue to have schools operating in that third lane. And that's a bad place to be, in my opinion at least. It's a bad for college athletics. I don't want to operate there, but I think to be competitive, we may have to figure out what the third lane looks like for the University of Arkansas. So how do you respond to that as a guy who's trying to do it the right way, but seeing maybe some others are not?
Well, there's a lot in there, so I think I followed all. I think the analogy's fair. Now remember, go back to maybe my last appearance, not here, but people would say, well, I hate the NCAA, and maybe you still feel that way. We don't really like accountability, oversight, and enforcement. That's not our favorite thing in life. So when you are pulled over, right, you're not happy about it. Mine was I-20. I was going 76 miles an hour, and of all the speeding I've done, to get a ticket for 76 miles an hour was pretty annoying, because I've gone faster a time or two, by multiples maybe, unofficially. Since that statement, there's been an announcement of a head of enforcement under what's called the College Sports Commission. So as we try to oversee and enforce settlement terms around revenue sharing and actual third-party NIL, there is activity taking place. Can't happen soon enough as part of the statement that I think Hunter correctly makes. We also, if you watch our games, you'll see an ad around the SCORE Act. We need national standards for college athletics. We need national standards for college athletics. Between states passing legislation and different court decisions, those decisions on policies are driven at a state law level or court district level. That's not how you run Final Fours or college football playoffs or College World Series. And so whether we like it or not, the congressional conversation is real, because that's a place where laws can be set. We can oversee and enforce name, image, and likeness activity. You can enforce the revenue sharing that's been adopted. I think there are elements like the transfer portal that complicates things in this era. And you go back and say, well, what should we be achieving in college sports? What should happen around the young people? So I think there's agreement there should be new economic opportunity. That's happening. How is that properly managed? Is it just billionaire versus billionaire, or is it something that says we're still going to compete to attract people? How do they maintain educational continuity? Because if you transfer more and more and more in college, the degree gets farther and farther away when you transfer. When we bring people into our campuses, they're part of the community. That's college, right? And that's college sports. And in college sports, you have a unique opportunity to build a legacy where, look around here, they name awards for you. They bring you back. They want you to be part of that continuing story. And that has been eroded by some of the changes. Now, there are those who say, well, these changes are great. They should have happened. Some of the changes have been helpful. I don't think we're going to understand the full impact years down the road, and we have to adjust to that speed limit analogy, and that's fair in real time. And we have to have oversight. We have to have the authority for that oversight, and we're making progress. We just have to make more progress more quickly.
Do you feel, I think maybe probably in this crowd, do you feel like you mentioned education, is that I've talked about it on a radio show, if you take these programs as Arkansas and you take it off the campus in Fayetteville and you stick it over in Sheridan or Conway, it's not the same. It's special because it's based in a university and education, and it seems like, wow, that it just doesn't, we're moving further away. Do you sense that too? And all the things you just mentioned, but I think that's also sort of a perception that it feels like. And it's tough. Coach Cowles talked about this too, Commissioner, about the transfer portal, which I think you guys are getting a handle on. And how can a kid graduate when he's transferring so much? And is that important anymore? But those are the kind of things I think I'm hearing as well.
Well, you know what John is a really good example. If you look over his career, the three things I just talked about: educational continuity, being part of a community, and building a legacy, creating a legacy. You go back and look at players that played with him, Massachusetts, Memphis, Kentucky, here. That happens over and over. He brings them back. He maintains that attachment. And I think that's a representation of the fundamentals of your question. I'm a freshman in 1983 in college. I'm a backup catcher at a place called Laterno College, now Laterno University. It was a great experience. I had a coach knock on my door on a Sunday evening and hold me accountable. One of the concerns right now is holding young people accountable, because they'll just get mad and go in the portal. I think that's part of what's changing. I think that connection to the campus is very different than a minor league baseball team, a G League basketball team, or an NFL franchise. Those move. Our campuses don't move. We don't build stadiums by leveraging communities, right? We build stadiums because that community comes together to say we want to celebrate on a regular basis. The same with basketball arenas. So there should be something different. And at the top of my list of concerns, among a $1 billion TV contract and YouTube and Disney not agreeing on carriage agreements and, on officiating, on scheduling, on the CFP size, if we lose the tether to the educational impact made on young people to move them from adolescence to adulthood, then we are losing our soul. And do I think that's threatened? I do. And I think we should be open about that. And when I go back to national standards, we should hold people accountable for making progress towards degree. We should help them understand that a decision in a moment may not be the best decision 20 years down the road. We should help them economically, and we've done that magnificently well. We should help them with health care, which is unlike any other around our programs. When you compare medical access or mental health access within our programs to outside our programs, we do just great work. But we have to have those standards where that can be overseen and enforced properly.
Okay, let's talk officiating. So as a commissioner, I always wonder, when at the end of a day, do you look at all the box scores of all the games or recap every game? Do you notice, let's look at those scores, a good game? And did you by chance this weekend when you looked at Arkansas and you saw the game, a close game Arkansas loses, did that come across your eyes to go, wow, 18 penalties for Razorbacks, 193 yards. Did somebody bring that to your attention, or do you see that on your own?
It was both. It was brought to my attention earlier. I was in a stadium where my cell phone wasn't perfect, but my habit is when games end, I'll go to a box score. You start at the top, but I quickly go to penalties. Now, just numbers doesn't tell the full story, whether they're right or wrong, so you have to dig into that more. But yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've gone back and asked about, over the last 4 or 5 years, significant penalty differentials which have existed. What's the high number we've been at? Remember, there's a difference between enforced and then called and not enforced in our numbers. And that's a responsibility I take seriously. In fact, sometimes I have physical reactions to outcomes myself because the expectation and pressure is so high. And I'll be happy to have parts of the conversation, but it's a responsibility we take seriously. I respect the officials on the field greatly. They don't have to do this. There's a lot that comes through to achieve that moment. But every week we have a conversation about what did we learn, how do we get better to achieve an even higher level of performance. And candidly, when I look through this season, the next season, what has to be adjusted, and I'll be happy to talk about some of those elements.
Yeah, I think it has to be, you have to be concerned because you want fans to feel good about what's happening on the field. I know you've had a couple of instances this year. I think you had a referee suspended for the rest of the year after the Auburn-Georgia game, and the SEC officiating office had to issue a remark about missing a call in the Oklahoma-Auburn game. And I know you don't like that. I mean, just like any other part of your office, I'm sure.
That's a friendly way. I hate that. Right?
What's that?
I hate that. But there's times when we've got a set of standards when something's just misapplied. You can't comment on every judgment call because it will be seen differently. And I'll go back to accountability. So you can go on our website. I think it's still there. We put out our weekly process in football officiating. It's there for people to see, and our annual process of all that goes into it. And included in there is accountability. And I mean that respectfully. And we apply what I've told our athletics directors, our head football coaches, just like happens in our athletic programs, internal team discipline. Because I think it's difficult to just put all of it out publicly and actually build confidence and help people understand what's happening in a program. But we're going to have to continue to think about how we communicate and adjust. Because, again, the transparency, if you go back 30 years, you'd go to a game, you'd sit in a coffee shop, and you'd complain about the officiating. Now you go to a game, and right there, you can see in real time better information sometimes than the officiating crew on your phone. And you can then opine publicly about that. That's a different reality. And we've adapted. I think we have to continue to adapt. And part of the challenge around football officiating is some of these rules go back to when Walter Camp was at Yale. And that sounds funny. Some of you may have played with him. You may have actually read his scores at a quarterback club. But it was a run-based game that's adapted to the passing game. And we have a lot of different divisions that are on a rules committee. Is that the most effective way? Because I've been to Division III games that take about 2 hours and 20 minutes, and you have a little bit of replay on the scoreboard, but you don't have the same access. And do we pivot so that the higher level programs that have different demands around officiating structures can adapt to those? We kind of pushed on collaborative replay. I think coaches' challenges need to be part of our game. It's not all on the video center. Yeah. Are there objective standards where that can be used? You know, in the NFL, you can't present an illegal formation, but in college you can. So the 8-year veterans don't have to adjust the same way. And when you think about hurry-up offenses in college football, all of that movement is difficult to officiate. There are about 8 reads for an official in some of our offenses. And this is not against the hurry-up. This is just about how do we manage the game and how do we think differently with the hurry-up offenses. How do you make those reads in 7 to 10 seconds? It's enormously problematic.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing as an old player is that you have television, as you mentioned, you have replay, and you see one play like in the game against Arkansas where there was no flag thrown, and all of a sudden from the office, I guess in Birmingham, just before the ball was snapped, the ball's almost snapped. Well, we're going to look at this targeting issue.
The target.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we had one a couple weeks ago, so I'll leave here with the hopes I get out of the building safely. We had one where we stopped for a catch, no catch, and what comes out is targeting. That is part of the game. Yeah, but in most, because of the rule change after, I think, 2019, the predominant number of targeting calls come out of review because it's so quick. And think about, those of you that have been on the field, man, it happens quick. And there are 8 officials and 22 players, and you're outnumbered from the beginning. And then you're dealing with sideline issues, and that's where, David, I think we have to continue to talk about the level of expectation that relates to coaches' security and longevity, how the game is presented and how it moves along, how we make decisions, how we officiate, and how those rules are structured to support that whole column of issues. That's an ongoing conversation. I have a list that starts week 1 about, hey, here's some changes we need to think about for next year.
And I appreciate that. Obviously, making the moves you did this year by the letter that goes out or the suspension of a referee. But I understood on that particular play, it was my point was, Commissioner, if you could do that there. And then there was another play where a player ran out of bounds, 10 yards. Yeah,
I agree.
And so how come you can't look at that if you can look at the other? It's a safety issue. And so my thought is, if you're going to protect that, what to protect
Here's
this
a really
guy?
good one, face masks. So let's leave face mask calls. And understand you'll have a different number of cameras at different games. So Saturday night game or an ABC game, higher number. We capture, I think the number's 12 of those cameras at one time. So the pylon cam, here's a secret for you, is not in our replay system unless it's shown on TV. The first down camera is that way as well. So we just voted with our athletics directors to spend money to expand because the technology exists to capture more cameras immediately to help move decisions along. That's part of the change in technology. Internally, we've had conversations about should we seek to mount cameras permanently so we're not judged based on the location of a camera. So we had a 2-point conversion that's subject to debate. But if you look at the placement of the cameras, one was like a foot behind the goal line and it distorts the view. The one that's in the pylon's a fisheye lens. And you have to be careful about those issues. So we've kept up to a certain extent with technology. We can move technology, and then what are the standards where perhaps a coach's challenges come into play on some of those objective standards called illegal participation, maybe some formation issues. We had one last year in Oklahoma, Alabama, where it was called illegal touching because of formation issue. That's an objective standard. That's where I really want the Rules Committee to dig in and think about where we have technology available, How does it help us build credibility in the game and officiate in a better way?
A couple things before we let you go. Obviously, the conference is going to 9 games. As a guy, a lot of our awards are small college awards here for our touchdown club, and so we've been seeing small colleges doing playoffs forever. They've been doing this, and so one of the things I thought that one of the things I see small colleges not do is a championship is a conference championship, because the goal is getting to the national championship. So you think, what do you think the future of that title game goes with the 9-game schedule, and how do you think the SEC is positioned going forward with the other conferences?
Well, I think we're in the best shape of anybody. I mean, we're 16 schools that are no more than a 2-hour air flight away. People can travel. We've made really good decisions that I think will stand the test of time. We've restored rivalries. Yeah, we've broken some.
Which has been great.
Yeah, you guys go, I think it's at Austin and
LSU.
Yeah, and I was here when you beat them and rushed the field, and we couldn't get out, so we had to walk back to, or I was in Fayetteville, we had to walk back to the hotel, to the Graduate Hotel from the stadium with the TV crew. That's a pretty cool scene.
I do want to say, I don't know about you guys, but I think the rivalries that you did bring back and part of this has been outstanding,
so
which is great.
I think we're really well positioned. And when we expanded, there were 2 things about fairness and balance in the schedule. So in the old divisional format, in fact, I have 2 emails in my inbox complaining about wanting to return to divisions, but it was really imbalanced competitively. And so what we've tried to do with that 1 division format, that's an oxymoron, 1 division, that single standings format, is have better balance around the win-loss records. We've gone from like a 25% spread between the easiest schedule to the top schedule in the division format to about a 9% spread, which is less than 1 win and 1 loss. I think those are the kind of decisions you want to make. And what we learned is people want to see our big teams more frequently against their team, come through their stadiums. We don't want to wait 12 years. We've never sent Georgia to College Station. From 2012 forward, you've seen Florida a lot. There's a lot to that we could unpack if I come back again. And there's no officiating controversies the week before. But you haven't seen others here very much. And so I think we've made good decisions to kind of reinforce who we are as an entire league rather than separate components.
We were talking about and we'll wrap up with this, the governor down in Louisiana stepping in and being involved with the coaching search. It reminds me, if we go back, can I see number 5, Anita? This was back, I don't even remember the year. It had to be late in 1990s. So this was Governor Mike Huckabee and Lieutenant Governor Kathleen Blanco. And that's where we had unveiled the boot. And I think there's one more shot of that. Of course, she later goes on to become governor. Yeah, governor, I think during Katrina, yeah. So it's funny, a great story here that shows what was happening down in Louisiana. Coach Broyles decided we were going to go down to Baton Rouge for the second Battle for the Boot game, and he invited the governor to go with us and the First Lady. So back then, Molly, you appreciate this, the power of Frank Broyles. The governor wanted to hear what Frank had to say. And he said, Governor, I don't think, if Danny doesn't win today, I think I'm going to have to let him go. And so Mike just said, okay, Frank, whatever you say. And so we went on that. Of course, we lost, and Danny Ford was let go. But it reminded me then, that's just to me a great story of, it shows you the significance of college sports, especially college football, where governors and board of trustees, and we're talking about in this state how they overlap. It's a pretty remarkable formula, how and just the way the dynamics of college sports work.
It is, and where you have alignment is really important among those offices and office holders. Taking back from the governor, one of the privileges I've had, I started in the SEC in 2002, and I shared earlier, to know Frank Broyles, to talk to him on the phone, to talk to him at meetings, to Ben at the Masters one time with my oldest daughter, who's now in her early 30s, and he's in his green jacket, just inside the ropes. He wasn't stepping over, but he was going to talk to me. What a reward. Having watched him on college football games as a color commentator when he was AD, which if you think about today's world, can you imagine that happening? I mean, that's a significant, that's a sign of the respect and the stature that Frank Broyles had established and maintained. That day flying with colleagues who'd worked with him and them telling stories. That goes back to that community and that legacy that I talked about earlier. And yep, you know what? Governors should care. It should matter. I grew up in upstate New York. I'm not sure it matters. And we should be unapologetic about the fact it just means more. Sometimes it just means too much. We need to be careful there. So I don't know what happens with that big poster. I was pleased there wasn't a bullseye on the heart. So I signed my name. You can find the heart for the kill shot, whoever has that.
Well, we'll close.
Don't post it on social media.
We'll close with this because the governor, Sarah Sanders, speaking of governor's involvement, she wanted to be here today, but she couldn't be here. But she sent me a message. She goes, "Oh yes, I've met Commissioner Sankey. We don't know each other well, but please give him a message. Please tell him for sure we didn't like the calls, and we will let him make it up to us when we play LSU." That's what she said. That's just what she said. That's a direct quote from Governor Sanders.
So when I met Governor Sanders, she was governor-elect. We were at the Liberty Bowl a couple of years ago, and Steve Earhart and the crew walked like, there's a cast of thousands, it seems, to walk out for the coin toss. And that had happened to me before, pre-COVID, when Arkansas was there, and I realized they want me to walk back to the Big 12 team sideline after the coin toss. And I said, I'm not going to do that. So I'm the one guy walking on the football field to the Arkansas sideline that year. So as we were walking out, I said, "Governor, did they give you any instructions?" And she said, "Well, we're going to walk out for the coin toss." I said, "But what's going to happen is they'll expect everyone to turn back and walk to the Big 12 side. So just stay with me. We're going to walk to Arkansas side." So I don't know about that request, but I'm more than happy to take care of the governor.
Well, listen, it really means a lot to, I know, to Central Arkansas for you to take time to come here. Obviously, I've seen articles written. Pat Forty said you were the most powerful person in college sports. So we look to you for leadership and guidance, and I think we're very fortunate to have you as head of the SEC and the Razorbacks.
I was told Wally had me as the Pope, so I didn't bring my hat.
He did
this morning.
I think he did. He was the Pope this morning. That's right.
There are a lot of powerful people. I want to be influential and effective. And when we're wrong, we want to get it right. I want you to know that. And we work hard. And football is a game filled with surprises. Michael Lombardi wrote that in a book. He's with Belichick now at North Carolina. And we want to learn from things, and we want to move forward. And I appreciate the chancellor, the athletics director. Bobby's an interim coach role, and we want to be right. And I respect the frustration that exists, but I appreciate your support for the game of college football. Because what we do is really special.
Greg Sankey, everybody. Great job, Greg. All right. Great job. Awesome. Yeah. We'll do just a few pictures. All right. If check. If you want to get your picture with the commissioner, come on up.